What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of This Old Gat. And what you're looking at here, first of all, just if it's a little shaky, I'm just going to let you know now I'm not using the gimbal. This is going to be an episode that's slightly different than the others, and you'll start to understand here in a minute. What you're looking at here is a Type 45/66 Siamese Mauser. Why did I buy a Siamese Mauser? Well, look at it. That's why I bought it. Look how nice it is. Look at the condition of this. Look at the bluing on everything, and the cover, and the sights, in their awesome script. Look at that. See that? Nice and sharp. I hope it's coming out as well as it is for me. The chakra. This actually does say the RS121, which is the first series of the Type 45 rifle. But for This Old Gat, there's nothing I have to do to this. The guy that I bought it from had taken it out of the stock and sent me all the pictures beforehand. The inspection process is, there isn't one for me. I bought a unicorn ready to go right out of the box. And to be perfectly honest, I love it. So, it's going to go up on the Mauser wall, which I haven't really shown you this yet, but I guess I will. I've redone my wall, and I've got to fix that Enfield over there. It's already tipping over. I got to put something to keep it sitting upright. So that was the second wall mount. So SMLE, grenade fire emergency use, number 5 Mark 1 jungle carbine, dated 1945. My Krag, my 9124, which has celebrated its first birthday since I did that restore. I'm gonna go over here, and this wall should be familiar to you. So Dutch Beaumont, Federally Vitali, still need to do something about that amateur checkering job that somebody did. 89 Swiss straight pull, Type 38 Arisaka teacher's rifle. And then I got a new rack over here today. So now I've got 3 racks, 12 guns on the wall, and that's basically my Mauser wall. So that open space is where the Siamese goes. That's the Turkish 880535. That's an 1891 Argentinian, where someone took off the last 2 inches of the barrel with the front sight, but it's got a spotter scope on it, so whatever. But the stock's really nice. And then the American Mauser, also known as the 1903 Springfield A3, which that scope is going away because it's too big and the bolt keeps hitting it. So I've got 3 more scopes I bought, and I'm gonna get one of those to fit on that. But anyway, yeah, that's now my lovely little wall, and I will fix that later. I just noticed it slipped over, but these racks tend to do that. And that's my first milsurp up there. As you can see, it needs a little bit of work. She's a good old girl. This is actually a 1961 dated short magazine Lee Enfield. This is an Ishapur rifle, so this was made in India. You can tell by the little squared off front sight hood. It is the emergency use grenade firing model, so it does have the brass wiring soldered in with the giant Whitworth bolt to kind of keep it all tied together. But that part of the handguard's missing, and it's always been that way since I got it. And I'm scared to death to work on it because I have to desolder and unwrap that whole thing, replace the whole handguard, stain it to match, and then put all new wiring back in place. And I think that might be just a little bit out of my wheelhouse. I apologize for the dogs, but I sent my folks shopping today so I'd have peace and quiet. Now the dogs won't shut up. So let's get back over to this. What am I covering? Well, I'm going to show you how to tell what Mauser, Siamese Mauser you have. So let's begin with that. Essentially, what you're looking for is this mark, and I will translate the script for you in an inset picture down here. But this one says RS121. The other thing that you want to look at is here. And now we'll go look into the calibers. So the original Type 45 did not have the tang extensions. This rifle's got a pretty neat story to tell, I think. It started off as a Type 45. The serial number's here, and it is a very low number. This is a first year production, which I believe was 1903. I think it was 1903. If I made the mistake, I'll put the annotation up there of what year it was, but I'm pretty sure it's 1903. It's a first year production model. The first batch, 25,000. That's essentially how it boils, or what it boils down to. But yeah, the tang extensions came later with an upgrade, top and bottom. So this one was actually Arsenal upgraded, I think twice, because the original caliber is 8x50 millimeter rimmed Siamese, which is basically a copy of the 8x50 millimeter Australian Mannlicher round, and you can actually use those in the gun and fire Austrian Mannlicher rounds right through this. It'll work. But before I started buying brass, I wanted to make sure what I had, and when it arrived, I was pleasantly surprised to find out that this was upgraded to the Type 66 pattern, because if you look on the side, my sight graduations have been ground down to match the new Spitzer bullet. It's kind of a shame that all the script is missing, but I'm really glad that it's upgraded. What this also did was make my ammo choices a little harder to come by. So now this is upgraded to the Type 66, which is an 8x52 millimeter rim. That doesn't jive with any other existing ammunition, so you have to make it. And luckily, the guy that made my Dutch Beaumont brass, which, you know, up there, that I showed you in Pwnery's reloading bench, which there should be a little annotation down there for it, I made. He makes the brass for this. So I've got 60 pieces on the way in 8x52. The way he does it is he reforms, reshoulders, and retrims and re-anneals 7.62x54 brass. And then you use a I want to say it's a 318 bullet. It's either a 318 or a 323. Again, I'll annotate it down here. Which is going to be the same diameter bullet that I use for the 8mm Lebel, which is a future episode. So, in terms of commonality of bullet, I've got at least 2 I can work with. Maybe 3. I think if this is the 323 like I'm thinking it is, then it'll work in the Turkish Mauser also. So I'll have 3 different guns that fire the same diameter bullet, which is fine. But the brass I had to buy. If you need rare brass like that, I will leave the seller's name down here below, and you can check out his store. I talked to him recently, and he had shoulder reconstructive surgery, so reforming brass is what he has right now, is all he's got, but as soon as he makes his recovery, he'll be back into making that. He also makes really cool scale model replicas of characters, tanks, figurines, whatever. So he's kind of like double duty. So I use them for the brass. My friend George uses them for model stuff. Anyway, so yeah, Type 45 66 pattern upgrade. Basically, the way you find out is you just the telltale is that right there. If it's been ground down, you're a Type 66 now. Let's see what else. I think that's it really. So what I want to go over is some of the things that I had to do to this gun to unpickle it, because this gun was very well preserved. It had pickling all over it, and it took me about 3 days to get it all cleaned up. But in the process of it being preserved, what I had discovered was, well, this part's easy enough, right? You just grab it, pull it forward, and it clicks into place. Look at that. Even the bolt's beautiful, right? This is a, I believe, cock on open. Yep, cock on open. There you go. And I don't believe mine has an interrupted follower because I can close the bolt. But the later ones did. You can't close the bolt. Either that or mine's a little worn. But see, I can close it. Maybe I shouldn't be able to, but at least I can. A lot of people say that this floor plate on poorer examples, because you have to remember, this came from Siam, also known as Thailand. And those, the spring underneath will rot. The wings, the spring wings will rot, and that follower will jiggle in and out until it breaks off. I had already taken that apart, and it's in mint condition. Woohoo! However, I can do that. So, I don't know. Doesn't bother me at all. I can't do this one-handed. There we go. So what was stuck on mine after I unpickled it? The sling swivels were pretty stiff. All it took was a bit of Croyle, a little bit of Armstrong engineering, just doing this back and forth a few times. Of course, it didn't move this easy at first. Back one, same story. See, still got the smuts. Back here, the butt trap plate, still really stiff, just bent my nail trying to get it open. Anyway, this opens up. Let me see if I can do it. Let me try to do it with the other hand. No, I can't do it one-handed. Anyway, that's pretty tight. It flips open. The plate just slides from underneath this butt plate. There's a hole back here. It's only about yay deep. I was told that what that is for is storage space for a muzzle cap, which I don't have. I also do not have a cleaning rod. It's missing. However, I was told there's a guy who makes reproduction cleaning rods. I think the one that this gun needs is only about 15 inches. I took the one from the Type 38 and ran it down the channel, and it stops about here. So it's not a full-length cleaning rod. This was one of those buddy systems where you take 2 or 3 of them and you link them together. So I'll probably be buying a repro cleaning rod. It was only like 25 bucks. That's going to be on the way. Let's see. Springs are good. All these move. If you're inspecting your rifle, you want to check for cracks and splits, generally down here or up here if you don't have the tang extensions, or back here if the bedding begins to fail and cracks and blows out this corner. You guys with Springfields are pretty familiar with that chip off here. Most of these were 2-piece stocks, just like the Arasakas, because they were built at the Kokura Arsenal. So you've got a really cool, interesting rifle here where the Kingdom of Siam had a rifle that fired a Mannlicher round, but they loved the Mauser action, and they asked Mauser to build them a rifle based off of their export Mauser, but due to contracts, they didn't have enough time or manpower to do it. So they subcontracted the labor out to the Kokura Arsenal way east in Japan, and the Japanese built these. But since mine is a very early design model, I do have a 1-piece stock. There's no seam. Like you can tell the grain all goes together. But most of these are 2-piece. Like the later ones, the Type 46 and the 66s are 2-piece. This is a 1-piece. I kind of feel lucky that I got this, actually. So what else was stuck? The floor plate. There's a button here, like in some Mausers. You push it inward, and if you push it in far enough, like see how it's moving? Push it in far enough, this will pop out. The spring pressure will push it out. That way you can clean the spring, the follower. You can check or clean the channel on the inside. I'm still working on this. As you can tell, I got it moving, like so, but not enough to get it to spring out still. But this was basically Croyle and a plastic punch, and just tappy that way, tappy that way, tappy that way, back and forth over and over and over until this breaks loose. And I've got to get the door, so sit tight.
A few moments later.
All right, sorry about that. In the absence, though, I was able to get this open so you can see it. Basically, I just open it up here, little dab of Croyle on the pin and on the face, and see, it's not very deep down in there, but there's nothing in it, so trying to get that open and closed wasn't that big of a priority for me. Anyway, like I was saying before, for this magazine, I coiled the pin on both sides, inside the grooves. This thing was concreted, like solid. There was goo all over this and all in here. And essentially what I did was I took a plastic punch and a 2-ounce ball peen. I would just tap on this button to get it to start moving, see? And then I would put the coil in there, let it close back over, let it soak overnight. I let it soak for about 4 days. And that's about as far as I got it. But in all honesty, this is like really not a maintenance part anyway. But if you needed to do it, just keep soaking it, keep cleaning it, keep wiping the mung out of it. Eventually it's going to start moving far enough, this will pop out and come straight down. The biggest problem for me on this particular gun here was actually the safety. So I am cocked on open right now, and you know, as typical Mauser safeties go, see that? It won't lift. Try it again with my other hand just to show you. I put my knee down here and pull. And she fights me. She still fights me to this day. And there we go. Up and over. That'll lock the trigger. That'll lock the bolt. Going back is no problem. See? But if you notice, it's kind of shiny here. And the reason it's shiny here is because this part, which apparently is very common on K98s also, is not machined very properly. So I'm going to have to take this apart again, and I'm going to have to face this off ever so slightly with jeweler's file. You want to maintain the profile. I don't know if that's coming through for you, but you want to maintain this profile so the safety still works as it should. But is there, you see this little bit of marring? I need to face it down just a little bit more, because this is the ramp that starts the cocking piece to cam out. See? And that's what I'm fighting against when I'm pulling on this thing as hard as I am, and it's still not coming up all the time. So anyway, to do that, you have to take apart the bolt. So sit tight, and I'll show you how to do that. Alright, so this couldn't be avoided. I had to get out the gimbal for this because this requires the use of a second rifle. If you were on my daily show today, called The Week in Review, you would have heard me talk about this oddity. But what you've got here, let me pull them into focus. Here is the Siamese. Here is the Turkish 880535. And what makes this rather interesting is, let me see if I can pull this up a bit. This is an 88 commission rifle that has been upgraded to a 1905 specification and then modified by the Turks with a Kar 98K barrel and sights. It came with the ferrule to take down the bolt, but because it still uses a Gewehr 88 bolt, it doesn't need this. Why they did it is anyone's guess. Maybe that's how they got the stocks or whatever. But what you have is this interesting case of a rifle that needs the ferrule doesn't have it, and the rifle that has it doesn't need it. So here's the bolt taken out. Basically, you lift the safety into the middle position, which is the takedown position, as such. You pull it out of the gun. And then you want to depress this plunger here in and unscrew the bolt, like so. And it's going to catch a few times until you get it out far enough. But eventually it'll come all the way out. Sorry, I'm off frame, aren't I? So that comes out like so. And then, then comes the fun part. So then you go over to your Turkish Mauser here, if you have one. If you don't, use your Gewehr 98. If you don't, then you get to do this the hard way. But either way, you put it into the ferrule here, you push down to decock the spring, turn it 90 degrees, and then it comes apart. So this is your cocking piece, and this is your assembly. There's your firing pin, which I'll just leave there because I don't need it right now. And then you take this and you wiggle it straight out, like so. So once you do that, this is the part that needs to be modified. I'll lay this down for a second. And I've got to go over to my toolbox. And what I'm going to use is a very fine graded jeweler's file. It's flat on one side and domed on the other. Not sure if that's focusing very well, but here. You can get these on Amazon. My dad and I are both electricians. We had these for cleaning up lands and stuff on things we're getting ready to solder. So what I gotta do is take this safety flag and just slowly work the face right here, little by little, put it back together, try it again, just until it's just easy enough to start the camming process. Everything in reverse is fine. It's just getting that one initial over is the problem. So we're gonna go ahead and do that, and I'll get it back together and give you my closing thoughts on the Siamese Mauser. Sit tight. Okay, so here's the back half of the bolt back together, and it's pretty simple, self-explanatory. When you put the cocking shroud back over the firing pin, it's got a groove in it, and all you have to do is line the groove up and push straight down. You don't have to force it, you just lay it straight down. And then the cocking piece is 90 degrees off kilter. So you just push down on this whole assembly to compress the spring until you can get this over the stud, turn it 90 degrees, so the cocking piece fits into this groove, and let go, and you're back to normal. And then you simply take your bolt body and put this back in like so, and screw it back in place. It's pretty coarse threads. When you get towards the end, the little detent plunger will be in the way, so you just squeeze and keep turning, and it'll stop. You only have to do that one time around, and then it gets into its place where it's locked. Now, if you look carefully, you can see I've reprofiled this ever so slightly. Let me get it back in the gun, and I'll show you how much I took off. It really wasn't that much. And then we'll do a function check. All right, so here it is, all back together. And if you see, all I've really done is just take the corner down smooth until it made it to the edge. That's it. I just reprofiled it so it's supposed to be the correct shape. When you do this with your jeweler's file, just take your time. Let me point to the corner here. It's this little corner right here, I think. No, it's that one there. That one there. Notice how it dips down? That's the edge of this cocking piece. Right there. Let me see if I can get this to focus a little better. I took it all the way down to the edge. There was a lip that was a good, maybe 10 thou off. And that's why it couldn't cam, because there was a wall here of solid metal. You have to have this camming action. You have to have this ramp go all the way to the bottom. And I've been told that a lot of 98s have the same problem. So if you have that, that's all you got to do, is just take the corner all the way down to the edge and just keep it a nice round even profile. See? That's all you got to do. And then you can flip it over. So now we are now in safe. And if I can get this to stay still, it's still a little stiff, but now at least I can do it even with my left hand. So I would rather take off too little than too much. So anyway, let me get off of this and I will give you my final thoughts. Okay, so I'm back without the gimbal. Bear with me. So this is my Type 4566 Siamese Mauser. All back together. Safety works now. A little easier to work with. Still a little stiff, but at least I can work it now. And I figure the more I work that, the more that edge will mar a little bit and start to cooperate better. So that I'm gonna leave it like that. I'd rather have it too stiff, but still working, than too loose and not have any meat on the bone left for wear. So that's all I gotta do with that. But anyway, I picked up this rifle. This Sea & Arsenal came out with a video on this rifle. I think it's about a month ago now. But the day it came out was the day I bought this, because those guys are awesome. They're awesome. They're awesome historians, storytellers. They're really, really good at what they do. And if you're not a patron of theirs and you have money that you want to throw towards them, you should, because they do great work. Anyway, I bought this the day they aired that video because they are sort of a double-edged sword. So they are responsible for what I like to call the Ian effect. Ian McCollum of Forgotten Weapons will showcase a weapon, and then all of a sudden a bunch of people get excited, they buy it, they drive up the prices on the market, and then by the time you catch on, it's really expensive, sometimes twice the price. I'm really curious what Othias paid for his, because he has one of these and he's very proud of it, and he said he didn't pay a lot of money for it. I paid $400 for this, and I don't feel like I got ripped off at all. I think it's worth every penny in its condition, and I think you probably would agree. But anyway, thanks for watching today's episode of This Old Gat. This is the Siamese Mauser, and if you're thinking about getting one, do it. They're a great bargain right now. Ammo's a little hard to come by when it comes to cases, but if you roll your own, there are people who are making the brass. That's all you really need. Everything else is standard stuff. I have a load table for this. I'm perfectly happy with sharing it with you if you're willing to try my recipe. So you can keep these old girls running. Like I keep all my old girls running. All my old girls are running. I still need to straighten that out. I haven't bothered doing that yet. But anyway, thanks for taking the time to watch. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're a regular here, welcome back. Either way, maybe hit the old like button, maybe subscribe, maybe tell a friend, let them know that I exist. And yeah, I'm self-funded, by the way, if I didn't say that before. So there's no pitch, unless you're Fiocchi or Celia and Bello and you want to send me ammo, I'll gladly do it. You save me the trouble of making my own. That's cool. But other than that, here it is, This Old Gat. I can't remember the episode number, but you'll see it in the thumbnail. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for liking. Thanks for sharing. If you didn't know, I host a show on Saturdays called The Week in Review. Little plug at the bottom there. And yeah, stay tuned for the next episode of This Old Gat, because I'll be making the ammo for this one. And it shouldn't be too hard. That, and I'll be making the ammo for the Vitali, because I need it for that too. I got the brass, I'm just waiting on the bullets. Anywho, there we go. Hope you liked it. See y'all later.